What's up YouTube? It's Ghostwriter15 here, back at it again with another GOAT format video. And today's video is going to be about what cards I would put on the GOAT format ban list, aka April 2005 ban list. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So starting off with the forbidden section of the ban list, there's two cards that I would add to this. The first one is Cyberjar. I think this card is extremely broken. It can create some really unfair games. Being able to flip this card up and special summoning up to 5 monsters or adding 5 cards to your hand or a mixture of both is really unhealthy for the game in my opinion. This card combos really well with certain cards and allows you to do some really dumb stuff. So I think this card deserves to be banned. And then the next card that I would have on the ban section of the ban list is Pot of Greed. I know a lot of players think Duo or Graceful is more broken, but my opinion is that I think Pot of Greed is the strongest card from the Trinity pieces, just because it's always going to be a +1 no matter what. Graceful, it depends on what you're discarding, and Delinquent Duo, it also depends on what you're hitting, and as the game goes on longer, Delinquent Duo gets worse. Pot of Greed is almost always going to be a good card unless you're literally about to deck out. And now for the limited section of the ban list, I would put 5 cards. The first one being Trap Dust Shoot. The reason I would put Trap Dust Shoot on the ban list is because this card is so broken, especially when you draw it early game. You can see your opponent's entire hand and send anything you want back that's a monster. You get perfect knowledge of the opponent's hand, and a good player is going to take advantage of that. And it makes the game really easy. You're able to win just by knowing each card in your opponent's hand, and having your opponent know your entire hand turn one is, I think, very bad for the game. So that's why I would limit that card. Next up, I would have Giant Trunade on the limited section. I think Giant Trunade is a card that creates really unfair game states. It just lets you bounce back every single back row card your opponent has. There's going to be a lot of times where this card is going to be like a pseudo heavy storm because it doesn't matter if they go back to your hand. You're usually going to lose that turn anyway or on your next turn right away. So I don't think this card should be at 3. Next up on the list, I would put Dimension Fusion on the limited section. I think Dimension Fusion is a card that's super dumb, super broken, that shouldn't exist in this format. You're able to special summon as many monsters from your banish zone. So this card's like Soul Charge before Soul Charge even existed. And you can bring back just about anything. It doesn't have any restrictions. So this card I think should not be at 3. The next card I would have limited is Rescue Cat. I think this card is absolutely insane. It shouldn't be at 3 because it creates very unfair games. You can OTK your opponent with this card, and it just doesn't create fun games. I don't like this card at all. I think this card should be at 1. And then for the last card that I would have limited is Cyberstein. I think Cyberstein is a card that doesn't let you play Yu-Gi-Oh sometimes. You can just OTK somebody with this card if you have enough life points to summon Death Koala, equip Megamorph, the game's pretty much over. Or you can also go into something like Last Warrior and prevent your opponent from summoning any monsters. It's a floodgate on its own. It also lets you summon Bolter or Ryu Senshi, so that's another floodgate negation that you have there with Cyberstein. And also, it can also bring out cards like King Dragoon, which is very annoying to deal with, and Gatlin Dragon, which can clear just about any card in the field. So, I don't think this card should be at more than 1. For the semi limited section of the ban list, I would put Twin Headed Behemoth. I think this card is very healthy for the game. I don't think it's broken at all. I wouldn't I wouldn't leave it on the limited section. Like this card doesn't see any play for a good reason. It's not really broken. Like sure it comes back when it's destroyed, but only once and that's about it. So I don't think having two copies of this in the format would change the game. Next up, I would put Lightning Vortex to 2. I had no idea this card was even limited in the first place. Like it's not even broken. Usually in this format, there's going to be a lot of monsters that are set, so you don't really get much value off of it. And most of the time, players are only going to be controlling one face-up monster at a time. So this card's not that good. I think it would be fine at 2. Next up, I would have Blade Knight on the semi-limited section. This card is very strong and very annoying. Like being able to shut down a whole mechanic, which is the flip mechanic, is just super broken. And this card's already searchable with Reinforcement of the Army, so it's like you have 5 copies of this. I think putting it to semi-limited would at least help with the lower the consistency that this warrior deck has. And then the last card I would have on the semi-limited section is Royal Decree. This card should not be at 3. I even considered putting it to 1, but just to be fair, I put it at 2. This card, similar to Blade Knight, I don't think cards that shut down an entire mechanic should be at 3. This card shuts down the entire trap mechanic, so cards like that are unhealthy for the game, in my opinion. And for the unlimited section of the ban list, I would have Upstart Goblin. I think Upstart Goblin is a very healthy card for the game. It's not broken. All it does is create a little bit more consistency. It doesn't do anything crazy. I think at 3 it'll be fine. Next I have Vampire Lord going to unlimited. Vampire Lord going to unlimited I think won't do much. I didn't even know this card was at 2 for GOAT format. And at 2 it's really not doing anything. At 3, I wouldn't expect it to do anything either. So I'm fine with giving zombie players another Vampire Lord. I don't think it's gonna make a difference. Next up, I would have Dark Scorpion, Check the Yellow, going to Unlimited. I read this card to make sure that it's not broken, and it's not broken at all. I don't know why this card's at 2 in the actual GOAT format ban list. It really doesn't do much. Like, sure, you just bounce a card back to the hand. Big deal. Dawn Zalug is way better. It actually creates card advantage. This doesn't. So this card can easily go to 3. The next card I would have going to 3 is Marauding Captain. This card sees zero play at all in competitive GO format. And not even warrior players would play this card because it's just so bad. The effect to protect itself from battle really isn't that good. It's such an easy lock that you can break. I don't think going to 3 would do anything. And the last card I have going to unlimited would be Emergency Provisions. This card, it doesn't really see any play. I've only seen it being played a few times, and sure you gain life points, but that's not really broken or anything. Like it's good against burn, but that's about it. Doesn't really generate any card advantage. So I think this card going to 3 would be fine. So there you have it. These are the cards that I would add or move around on the April 2005 ban list. Like always, feel free to disagree or let me know what else you would add or move around on this ban list. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. This is Ghostwriter 15 signing out.